All right, and we are live.
All right, guys, thank you for joining us. If you're watching via Facebook Live, we know that everybody's pretty busy, hopefully out doing restoration jobs. I know I'm up here in Philadelphia and we have the remnants of a tropical storm. So we've got some pretty decent rain that's going on here in the Philadelphia area. Of course, everything's always calm, cool, and collected in Canada because that's just the way they roll. But it's my honor and privilege to be here today again with Russ and Jamie. They are the backbone of this organization and for Esporta and the subject matter experts in soft contents. So Tier Level is proud to be partnered with these guys. And I want to kind of come at this a little bit differently. I know that the myth section may have come off as a little redundant, but this is going to be a very different approach to the way we're going to talk about it. This is really going to be just kind of coffee talk around the table from a restoration owner standpoint, some of the things that fears that they have regarding doing systems like this and leaving that referral base behind and how the implementation can actually make you money. So without further ado, before we even jump into the slides, I'm going to turn it over to Jamie and Russ to kind of give themselves a warm introduction, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, myself, Vice President of Sales here at Esporta. I've been actively in the restoration field for just about 16 years, and with Esporta close to 10. And it's just an absolute privilege to be a part of a company that really offers a new way of empowering restoration owners and companies to be able to get into something that truly they may have never thought about. And I think, again, that's why we really look to expose some of the myths, or at least provide information on why someone would consider getting into soft goods, soft contents restoration, textile restoration, whereas the typical mindset is picking up the phone, calling in a partner of theirs. The industry's changing. Bottom line is, I mean, in 16 years, sure, that was acceptable, 10 years ago. But everyone needs to look at how they maximize every dollar per claim. And yeah, we're very excited to have over 550 locations in North America and in 5 other countries across the world. So we're international, and we've got multiple different divisions we're in, and we're happy to help in any way that we can.
Fantastic. And Russ, you are the resident subject matter expert in soft content restoration. I always sing your praises. You're too humble to do so, but we're going to see how you're going to do today. See how you tout yourself.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah. Well, I tell everyone I learned from doing it wrong for 30 years. So I've got almost 40 years experience both in retail dry cleaning and soft content restoration work, even a few years with inventory pack out software. So I've been on both sides of the fence, so to speak, and can relate to just about any issue that operators think they might have or have. We've been there every step of the way with people considering this type of technology. And our goal is to not just sell equipment or technology, but to forge partnerships where we help businesses grow, just like you and Sean do. So we're very synergistic there. And we're looking forward to talking today.
Well, fantastic. I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day. I know restoration, the whirlwind can manage you, and you guys have got a lot of irons in the fire. We've kind of operated on this myth principle for a little while, and even still, as traveling's opened up for me, and I've had some one-on-one conversations with Jamie offline about some of the things that I hear in some of these other trainings that restoration professionals are still saying today. And they do believe everything that they've been told. Some of that comes from competition in the textile world because they don't want you to know the truth. Some of it really just comes down to sheer ignorance. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, it's just the fact that we just don't know. We only know what we know. So let's just start with the first one. And I'm going to field this to Jamie. And as one restoration owner to the vice president of sales, I know what your equipment's all about. It was designed to clean very heavy fire equipment and hockey equipment. And I just cannot trust that technology with most of the stuff that we do is more soft goods and more sensitive textiles. I can't afford to take that risk.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, Eddie. When you look at it, it's people are, unconsciously incompetent. They don't know what they don't know. So exactly to that matter, and where, on that front of, sport can only clean hockey and fire equipment. The value of our company of being around going into our year 22. So we've been around for 22 years. And when we first originally started the company back in 1999, the whole premise of the company was a solution for sports equipment. Bottom line, how can we solve a problem and how do we clean? And out of that, it was very interesting because there was no solution that could actually clean and disinfect. I mean, the mindset of, oh, it just smells, hockey gear, football gear, all those sorts of things. But the reality is that when you get into those foams and you start doing testing of mold and fungi and bacteria, it becomes a serious problem. And back in 1999, when our owner and founder, Randy Rode, and wife and partner, Margie Rode, their two sons played hockey, and that was a big topic. Long story short, the value of where our company resides is that, again, from 1999 to 2003, that was our primary market. Was sports equipment cleaning. And then 2003 to roughly 2004, 2005, very interesting and very exciting. We were approached by a very well-known consultant for Homeland Security and the U.S. government on the fact of fire department, fire bunker cleaning, and a major topic going around involved with cancerous, impacts and implications if gear wasn't being cleaned. So they developed the NFP 1851 guideline, which is the National Fire Protection Agency guideline on cleaning. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this. And as we go into each of these different divisions of the company, the ownership group, so Randy Rode, actually built companies around these divisions with the technology to ensure that our technology qualified and mastered what it could do. And so again, build a company in the sports equipment. We built a company called CES, Certified Ensemble Services, that is still active today on the fire bunker gear cleaning. And then in 2007, we then looked at the opportunity of the space of disaster restoration. So from 2007 to 2020, our primary focus has been in disaster restoration. So with the knowledge and the backbone of what we've been able to do, and also in the military, we've now been able to put a tremendous amount of time. And so the topic of the sport can only clean fire and can clean hockey and fire equipment is very interesting, because initially in 2007, 2008, we had very well-known disaster restoration dry cleaning groups actually purchased our technology. And at that point, we didn't know much. We didn't know much about the space. So I'll absolutely give you that. But when we started to develop, we actually started a company, a franchise organization here in Kelowna, BC, called Winmar Property Disaster Restoration. Randy Rode, again, did that with his sons. We then got in and we mastered the market. We understood exactly what textiles were, exactly how our technology could be applied to it. Daryl Nestivo is not on this call today. But again, being with the company and seeing the evolution of 18, 19 years, having individuals like Russ Jacobs, having 10 other people on our team, it's dramatically allowed us to focus on the disaster restoration space and master textiles. We most recently just had the approval on a CE class for textile and fabric restoration that Russ Jacobs actually did do, and it has been approved through the IICRC and through other applications as well. So, again, that life cycle. So without question, I mean, we can get in and we can go into nitty-gritty details, but we are masters of understanding this division. We have a specific designed R&D department for that. So long-winded, but as an owner of a restoration company, you truly can understand that 21, 22 years of a company being around at full force should provide confidence that we know what we're doing.
I think that is such fantastic information. Russ, I'll give you an opportunity to expand on that as well. I think that probably the easiest transition is that we're not doing, as restoration owners, we're not doing the same mitigation techniques we did 15 years ago. They have evolved. So why would your technology not evolve as well to be able to specialize? If you're going to specialize in disaster restoration, you have to be able to adapt and overcome. And it sounds like that you guys have. So I think myth number one, debunked. It is something that people are still trying to feed a bunch of lies into the industry just for the sake of not trying to sell machines, because it could take market share away from, people that specialize in this kind of thing. But Russ, you had some things you wanted to expand on as well.
Well, just real quick, I mean, if you look at it on its face, it makes no sense. Just anecdotally, a washing machine is designed to wash clothes. And
Mhm.
let's say that if you look at it from the other side, a traditional agitation washing machine cannot clean hockey gear and fire equipment.
Right.
If a technology that can clean hockey gear and fire equipment and do it effectively, it would only stand to reason that then it could also clean items from a fire or water loss just as effectively. To me, it's weird that that seems to be what you could say was a positive to become a negative, that it can only clean specialty items. Well, if the technology that can't clean specialty items, how can it clean fire and water damage better or at all? So from an anecdotal standpoint, if it is advanced enough to be able to do things that other washing technology can't, how does that then become a negative that it can't do other things even better as well?
Very good point. And I think, if people can't believe that aspect of it, then they're going to have a really hard time believing that we don't use a washboard and a crank with a squeegee system anymore in a tub. We see what washing machines can do now. They'll steam your clothes. I mean, they'll do all of these other things. So why would a Sporta not evolve with the times? So fantastic input. Some of the other things is too difficult to master. Of course, I'm going to direct that one to Russ to speak, not only on that one, but the too much space as well, because hey, I as a restoration owner, you know what, I should have you be able to answer these questions because you've got 30 years in the industry. I don't have 30 years to devote to this, so it's going to be way too difficult to master, but of course you can understand it. So why in the world would I even waste my time trying to get into this?
Well, a couple of things on that. From a space standpoint, we have to remember that the capacity is 100 pounds. If you went with traditional washers and you got 100 pounds of washing capacity, it would take up pretty much the same amount of space. So we don't look at just the dimensions, we look at the capacity. And so we're getting a tremendous amount of capacity in a certain relatively small space, 49 square feet, that can process $500,000 a year in soft contents. That's not much space for that much revenue. And so if we again look at the capacity, the potential revenue, the space becomes not an issue at all. Too difficult to master. I mean, we wash clothes at home. Is it that simple? Of course not. But when I did only soft content, I looked at hard contents and said, I could never do that. It's too hard. So the job is always harder on the other side of the fence. When hard contents companies look at soft contents, they think it's too hard. So are they more difficult one than the other? No. Are they easier? No. But I joke around all the time and say, if I'm doing hard contents and I drop grandma's plate on the floor, it breaks. But if I drop a shirt, I just pick it up.
Well, I think
So
even more importantly too is that that I want to reemphasize on this side of it, just because I know you gentlemen and your passion for the success of the people who purchase this equipment. It's not about the sale of the equipment. It's not a one and done. It is a support matrix behind it to prove that this doesn't just have to be a big boat anchor setting in your warehouse space, that it's going to utilize it. Because I'm going to direct this next one to Jamie before we move on to the next slide. But you guys provide on the spot questions and answers, for your clients. You guys are very involved in the client experience from a developmental standpoint and ongoing support. So yeah, you have 30 years of experience, but you're willing to share that 30 years of experience so they don't run into the brick walls that you did. Like you had mentioned at the first, you had a lot of success because of error, and you're out to prevent that from happening. So these guys have tremendous support matrix. So there's never a reason for it to be too difficult. But Jamie, I'll just sit there and tell you, adjusters that I'm dealing with now just would rather just write a check for this stuff and wash their hands of it. And as opposed to worrying about, each little, silk flower and clothes and all this kind of stuff, they just rather write the check. So I'm never going to make any money off this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is one of the most interesting topics of conversation. I think it all comes down to education. I mean, you have to educate your client, and by doing that, and how our operators handle that particular objection from an adjuster is give them an opportunity where they can show what the system and what their capabilities are. Where one thing that we coach our owners to do is as an initial strategy is they go in where maybe a restoration dry cleaner. So this even kind of answers it won't do half of what my referral source can do and I'll never make money off of it, is that we recommend that they go in behind a restoration dry cleaning firm that may have already gone through the loss and have left. I mean, we all see it. They leave a tremendous amount behind because of their capabilities. And so on two folds is that our operators are able to go in and clean a minimum of 85 to 90% of the items that have been left behind and deemed non-restorable. As long as items are not burnt or scorched or physically torn or damaged, our technology will be able to clean that. And that's a powerful statement. And so in the sense of being able to prove that to the adjuster, we really have to expose the fact that when an adjuster is still writing a check for $12,000 to $15,000 to a dry cleaner and still having to go through 30 to 40% of a non-sal list, they still have to negotiate with the homeowner of an actual, what is the replacement value? What's minus depreciation? It's an emotional conversation. All in the meanwhile, they've still cut a check for $12,000 to clean half the job. So
Right.
where our operators and our technology become extremely important to adjusters is the fact that if we can go in and on the entire claim, clean 95% to 98% of the overall claim, whether it's water, fire, mold, sewage, biocontamination, whatever it may be, there's a minimal impact that the adjuster's having to now do in an emotional conversation with a homeowner. So if we can eliminate that part of the equation of a claim, the adjuster's going to be happy. The homeowner is going to be happy because things are cleaned. It's moved forward. They're there to clean. You're a restoration company, and that is the absolute basis of it. All in the meanwhile, the average revenue per claim that we see through our operators network is between $7,000 and $8,000. So that's $7,000 that you're getting in by doing it yourself. Sure, maybe you're getting a 10% kickback on, an 8,000 or 10,000, so maybe $800 to $1,000. Well, what does that do for your business? How does that make you money? I mean, a lot of the times people don't even report it. Maybe it's hockey tickets or baseball tickets, whatever it may be. Adjusters and insurance companies are catching on to that. So bottom line is they're going to be looking for an ethical company that can do a full service turnkey situation on all contents. And by having their technology of cleaning 95%, not only are you maximizing the revenue per claim, but you're differentiating above your competitors that don't have our technology.
Now, do you ever have the side conversations with you? Because again, adjusters and insurance agents and all these guys work off of loss ratio scenarios, to where, they try to keep the loss at as minimal as possible per client and book of business, because, that really affects their bottom line as well. So, you being able to go in and say, hey, these silk flowers where you would have to, maybe that's an RCV policy on this and you would have to pay $10 for these silk flowers. I can clean them for $2. And you start getting into loss ratio discussions with them. How do you position that?
Well, I can help you with that, Eddie. That's one of the things that, when you're doing whatever content you're doing, you need to be aware of the differences in restoration costs versus replacement, regardless of whether it's ACB or replacement. And for soft contents, it's an average of 10 to 20% is the cost of restoration versus replacement. And we have to remember that not only from a money standpoint, that loss ratio, and what is the best use of the homeowner's contents limitations? Can they get back to their pre-loss condition, even if they could replace everything? Usually there's not enough for that. In addition to the time and inconvenience and hassle that it is to try to go out and replace all this clothing. Clothing is seasonal, it's special occasion, it's sentimental. And none of those factors are baked into that. Well, I'd rather just write a check. And it's also a myth that people would rather buy new clothes anyway. People like to buy clothes, no question about it, but to add to their wardrobe, not to replace it. You can look at tons of studies that show that the amount of clothing that Americans buy each year far exceeds the amount of clothing that they get rid of.
Right. Great insight. So I think on this first slide, I think that we've proven that Loch Ness does not exist. So it is, don't believe everything that you're being told from outside sources or your preconceived notions. Again, the subject matter experts have proven all of these to be false. So let's jump into the next one. What are you scared of? It is, I think, as a restoration owner, it is it's an investment, and it can be a substantial investment, no more than substantial than going out and buying dehus, air movers, extraction vans. The overhead costs that I have to have, all of that stuff has to make money. But ultimately, it all boils down to ROI. If I'm going to spend the money, am I going to recoup my investment? Am I going to make money on it? So we're going to kind of address these in multiple as opposed to individual, because I think that the conversation can tie in to all of the above. So we'll start with the first couple. Whoever wants to jump on it can. I'm not going to see ROI on the investment that I'm going to make. And I also, too, do not have the overhead costs to hire more people for making this investment. So therefore, I don't do soft contents. I just refer it out.
Yeah, and I'll kind of go into the first part of that. And I think, Eddie, the way that we operate here is we get involved with restoration company owners and have a conversation. And I think that's the basis of it. And I would simply ask the conversation to you, Eddie, as a restoration company owners. On average, typically, how many times a month do you pick up the phone to call in a restoration dry cleaner?
I would probably say, we do quite a few fires, so I'd probably say 7 to 10.
Okay, so even on the 7 side, if we take the average soft contents claim that is processed through the Esporta, which is reported by the Esporta Certified Operators Network of North America, which is over, at this point, I believe, close to 400 operators, the average revenue per claim is right around $7,000. So even at 7 jobs at $7,000, that's close to $50,000 a month. Let's even take that in half. Let's cut it right in half. Okay, so if we look at $7,000, $50,000, $25,000 a month, we're still exceeding $300,000 a year. The total investment of the Esporta machine, there's a lot of perception out there that it costs over $150,000. The Esporta IS 4200 20th anniversary model is $49,999. We also offer additional, packages as far as, finishing equipment, specialty detergents, training, etc. So, your investment is right around $70,000. And so if you as a restoration company owner are referring out even 2 jobs a month, again, being average of $7,000, 2 a month, that's $14,000 a month. So this is where we walk through the numbers and we walk through the equation. And a lot of the times people just don't believe it. I'm a sales guy, vice president of sales, I understand that. So what we do is we typically then put our operators in front of us. We challenge anyone to have conversations with our owners, although we do collect information through surveys. We just did a survey last week collecting information on 2019 from our operators. And so again, we do recommend that anyone speak to it. So the actual ROI is anywhere between 6 to 12 months. And so it gives the mindset of, again, I make too much money on referral fees. First of all, that's going to be gone. Regardless if you think it will, it's ignorant for people to think that referral fee mindset is going to be around for much longer, because all they're going to do now is they're going to directly cut you out of the claim in any part of the claim as an adjuster, and they're going to go direct to a restoration dry cleaner. Well, guess what? Restoration dry cleaning companies are already adding electronics restoration, pack out contents cleaning, and they're going to continue to go that path because they see a multi-specialty services level, and now they're going to be your direct competitor. So the referral fees that you once got from your partners are now actually your competitors. So again, even on 1 to 2 jobs a month, your actual ROI you will see within the first year. Now I'll turn it over to Russ, because this is a great topic to identify on hiring more people. I don't do soft contents, adequate storage. Russ, I think that is right in your wheelhouse, because we get those questions so often, especially on the employee side of things.
Well, a couple of things that are easy for storage. You keep in mind that we've got a couple of options on storing soft contents. Freestanding racks are adapting a vault. It's not like hard contents where we're dealing with a lot of items plus furniture and things like that. An average soft content job will fit almost in one vault. So it is not that much more storage that you need. And to me, that's kind of a moot point anyway, because we all, when we're really, really busy, if we have a certain size warehouse and we get an influx of jobs because of cat work or whatever, we don't turn it down because we don't have room in our warehouse. Since we're billing for storage, we put things in a climate controlled mini storage and we bill for it. So that's kind of an empty argument anyway. Hiring people, you're going to cross-train your employees almost the way that you do now, so that we can maximize that ebb and flow of work that we get with the current staff that we have. And if we have a couple of different scenarios, we're a little bit slow on one side, so this would be filler work to keep us busy so we don't have to lay people off. On the other side, if I got so busy with claims that I needed to hire more people, as a business owner, that wasn't the end of the world for me. It's kind of falls into that category of one of the good problems to have, right? And so if I'm so busy, I'm hiring people, I'm kind of happy about that.
Yeah, that's great information. So, I think to speak to this slide, you are not alone. We are not alone in this universe, in this restoration universe, because we have Esporta as a support system. So you guys get to be the close encounter of the third kind that we get to have on this slide. So I think that there's so many other talking points that kind of segue into this, but they're in future slides. So I don't want to jump ahead about this, especially from a business development or restoration sales professional side. So we'll get to that. But the ROI, if I'm doing 7 to 10 fire jobs a month and you scale that down to 1/4 of that, I've recouped my investment in 3 months. So if I'm not doing very many fire jobs at all, I'm doing 1 to 2, I've recouped it in 6 months to a year. So that's
I think, Eddie,
it
just
takes longer than that to pay off vans.
Yeah,
So
I think even just quickly on that before we move to the next slide, I think it's and I'll be very blunt about this. I think that people view that soft contents and textiles as not the sexy part of the industry, right? Who wants to get into laundry? We want to get a truck mount desiccant. We want to get into these large loss claims. So it's very interesting, because as soon as you have the opportunity to add this additional revenue to the claims that you're already servicing, keep that in mind, already servicing, it's going to allow you to then put more dollars to your bottom line to then go buy truck mount desiccants to then travel the country. And we see this all the time with a lot of our large loss guys, whether it's in ServiceMaster or ServPro. The money that they're generating, if they're adding an additional $400,000 to $500,000 of revenue to their business, they're more than happy, because they know that home base is being taken care of. And so again, people always shy that they want to go in and they want to get to that truck mount desiccant. They want to get into that because it works for them. The Esporta, the platform of it is so simple to use that it's the best employee. We've simplified it so much to the point that it's simply selecting a wash recipe, letting the system go. We've added a delay start, so your employees at the end of the day can load it. When they come in, the next load's done. So there's so many different efficiencies that we can go. But I think that that's the reality, is that contractors need to understand that although it's not it's kind of the burden of the industry is textiles and just sub it out. That's where we challenge contractors to have a conversation with us and talk to our owners. Bottom line,
maybe we need to redefine what sexy is, because if we as restoration owners think that standing in 3 inches of raw sewage and rubber boots with an extraction wand is sexy versus an Esporta washing machine, then we might need to redefine what is sexy in everybody's eyes, because I'd rather play with the Esporta than stand in raw sewage, I'm going to tell you. So, especially when you got the profit margins that we're talking about in doing soft contents.
One last thing, Eddie, I'm not very comfortable talking to you all about sexy stuff, but when we look at revenue and market share, revenue is what we normally base our ROI on, but we're not looking at things that don't show up on the stat sheet. If we can provide an additional service and generate revenue on claims we're already on, and then use that to provide both the homeowner and the adjuster with less points of contacts and elevated overall customer service, can we then increase our market share? Can we get more jobs that include more soft contents, but we're also getting the hard contents on those jobs as well? Claims that might have been going to another franchise or an independent. So when we look at the overall growth of the network, they're seeing this revenue that's coming in from soft contents, but they're also seeing a growth or expansion of their traditional market share because they're getting a higher percentage of new claims coming in. And that's hard to track, but definitely a factor in the ROI as you grow your overall business in total.
Absolutely. So there we go. Myth number 2, this section, busted. So again, the guys who score Esporta 2, myths 0. So let's jump on to the next one. So again, here's my favorite one. Sean, who's online but not visible, can attest to this as restoration owners or directors of business development. You know, we have to deal with the people coming into the office all the time, wanting to take us out for drinks or golfing and all this, and they tell us these things as far as the, you know, textile restoration companies are the way to go. You know, first off, you know, Russ can speak to this. He's been on both sides. You know, they have mastered what I as a restoration owner can't. So that's their, you know, they're masters of their domain. I have no way, the time, the effort to be able to master this. That equipment that they have is going to handle all of the contents. Esporta just really is not designed to be able to do what they do. It's going to take us too long. It's a headache. And again, it's, you know what, you just haven't convinced me that I'm going to be able to make money on it. You know, so, you know, that's kind of an all-encompassing thing. We've really addressed the money issue. You know, we can kind of, again, reinforce it, but why should I waste my time when there are masters? I don't fix my own car. I take it to a mechanic. I'm not doing textiles.
Well, I mean, I could take every single one of these statements and apply them to hard contents as well. And unfortunately, if we're really honest about things, fixing a car is harder than what we do. Is it really that hard to clean a plate or a bowl? I mean, I could probably clean a plate just as well as someone who's been doing hard contents for 20 years. Are there other areas where there is a little bit more expertise required? Sure, but it's the very same thing with soft contents. The majority of soft contents are not as complicated as we make it out to be. And in any business that we do, any restoration work we do, is it really about the process, or is it more about the people and the experience and the customer service? I mean, cleaning clothes is not rocket science any more than cleaning dishes. And then keep in mind as well, we've alluded to it several times, when it comes to soft contents, there's that disconnect or that misconception that it's dry clean only. It's not dry clean only. It's very, very, very small percentage of dry clean only, and we're going to sub that out to a dry cleaner who knows more about dry cleaning than we do. But on a traditional or typical pack out, the dry clean only is going to be 2 to 3 to 4% of the items. We can handle the rest, as well as the technology itself is made for the restoration industry. So your employees are simply going to choose the appropriate cycle. And there are commercial washers out there that sell to all kinds of industries. And so they'll give you a choice of 100 cycles. That's going to be a little bit of a learning curve there and more of an opportunity to choose the wrong one. With Esporta, there's a certain amount of cycles that are very self-explanatory. And once you choose the right cycle, the machine does the rest. Your employees are not having to be trained on adding detergents and supplies and picking a customized wash cycle for a particular type of item. It's not that way at all. So I think we look at this from a standpoint is it more complicated? No, it's actually less complicated than we make it to be. And everything else will fall into place with our ongoing training and support that, again, just from the machine itself, you're not having to call Jamie, you're not having to send me an email. You go onto the pad that's on the machine and it will answer every question that you have, no matter what you're running. So
in essence, what you're trying to say is that it is harder to train a carpet cleaning technician because they have to, in essence, kind of be a chemist on the fly, because, you know, if they put too much chemical in with the water mixture, then they get foam up and they get all these kinds of things. The chemical's not working right for them. You get residual in the carpeting, things like this. This is simply read some directions, push some buttons, let the machine do the work.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think absolutely. Too on that, I mean, you know, it takes too long to learn the process. I mean, we've dialed it into the point of we've built online restoration soft contents courses, so you can do it at your leisure, whether it's on your iPhone, Android phone, at home, on your computer. There's a course that you go through. So again, keep in mind, we're not trying to simplify this, because you are going to come out of this with a certificate and a certification to run the Esporta and be an expert in soft contents restoration. So it's not just a matter of, hey, beep, 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 we're good to go. I mean, there is some training involved, but the average time it takes someone to go through our courses is anywhere between 3 to 4 hours. And obviously our depth of training far exceeds that. But that's the unique thing is that in this industry, there's so much turnover. So again, one of the fears is, well, if I have a technician and then all of a sudden they leave with the information, how quickly can I get somebody else up to speed? What if I'm in the middle of a job? Well, not only do they have the support of of Russ and Daryl, of combined over, close to 60 years in the industry, not to age you guys, sorry, I love you, but that is the depth of what they have. And we can have somebody trained within 3 to 4 hours. And so that also, and it's not a matter of us having to come to the facility. Everything's done online. I mean, again, a lot of people as well, you're a Canadian company. How do you come? How do you set up? How do you do everything? Everything's done virtual. Bottom line is there's billion-dollar organizations out there that run their entire company based on Zoom meetings or through virtual meetings. And that's how we have adopted that since 2014. And right on the machine, the IS machines, is a 10-inch tablet that you can actually Skype us. So not only are you getting, as Russ said, FAQs and videos and information on the tablet, on the machine, you can Skype us. So Daryl could be, he could be on his boat ripping around on a weekend, and all of a sudden he gets a Skype call, and he's going to take that, because that's the type of individuals that we are, and that's the type of company we are. So when we look at the process takes too long, it truly doesn't. I mean, you are going to become an expert in this in a very short amount of time. And the liability is always something. I'd rather pick up the phone and collect referral fee, and I don't have to deal with liability. As Russ mentioned, well, if you're doing hard goods and one of your employees takes a big screen TV and there's no scratches on it, and then mysteriously when you give it back to the homeowner, all of a sudden there's scratches on it, what sort of liability are you already undertaking on hard goods? Whereas soft goods, we teach our operators to assess items before even leaving the job site, and as well at the loss, and also at the facility that they're doing the work through, with some sorting and organizing. And every wash program that we've developed has particular chemistries involved with our products, so you're not having to use human error of dumping into the machine. All of our washes are on cool water temperatures. Extraction can be controlled through low, medium, and high. We have additives, that can be fragrance or softener, or even a liquid scrubber, which is fantastic for heavy smoke and soot claims. If you have a very sensitive customer to smells, stage 1, 2, and 3 of our detergents can be hyperallergenic. So there's multiple ways. And again, this is what we teach and we learn. So the liability is so minimal, and it's such a fear that people are scared of, which we get. But when it takes, when we walk through what our training looks like and what our capabilities are, all in the meantime, then it answers the bottom question: no way I can make money. Well, again, the average revenue per claim, even drop it to $5,000. You're doing 2 jobs a month. That's $10,000 a month. Average profitability that we see is anywhere between 65 and 75% all day long. And again, the survey that we just did for 2019 with our ownership, I have to get the final results, but I'm going to bet you it's anywhere between 72 to 74%. And that's through all networks: ServPro, ServiceMaster, Rainbow, Independence. It's just, that's the reality. So you can make money by doing this. It's just the fear, and we can help walk you through that. And I think that that's what's absolutely critical, is that we're not here to stuff a sale down your throat. If it doesn't work for you, I'll do the analysis with you. If it doesn't work, we shake hands and say, hopefully one day we can earn your business. But again, we want to position ourselves to educate operators and owners that this is a business decision that we can help you with.
Well, I would be willing to challenge any restoration owner that thinks that they can't invest 4 hours of their time to get a $500,000 result. That right there kind of speaks volumes to it right there. Potential $500,000 a year for 4-hour investment. I mean, you don't even get, it's going to take your carpet cleaning crew 10 years to do $500,000 at $99 a room, so it is, I think that is amazing ROI right there, even dialing it down to just $5,000. But we're going to show here on the next slide coming up, I believe, from a restoration sales point, how this can even exceed that $500,000 ceiling in a hurry. So Russ, you had another point?
Yeah. Well, for one, we don't shake hands anymore, Jamie. But for two,
Bump elbows.
bump this
Mhm.
for two, we also, it goes beyond just the process itself. Everybody's focused on the process, but with our background, both Jamie and I have a background in pack out inventory software. So we help our operators with how to inventory, which also, basically done a certain way, will limit that liability and get your claims way down. In addition, this morning, right before the webinar, I was auditing a soft content bill from one of our operators in New Hampshire. So we're going to work with our operators on how do we have a fair and honest bill, but still be able to maximize a bill so we are getting what we need to get. So all of this training and support goes beyond just, how do I wash a golf shirt, into how do we inventory, how do we bill, how do we market. So we want that to be part of, yes, I can master this, even down to getting support on how do we bill for soft contents. A lot of people don't understand how different it is than hard contents.
And I
That's
think too,
awesome.
one thing, and I know it's actually not even listed on this, Eddie, but I want to address this head on, is that there's a lot of mindset about, Sporty, you have to buy their detergents, and that's, it's a horrible thing. It's so expensive. And kind of where I want to dovetail this into is on the support side, is that absolutely, when you purchase the Esporta, without question, you enter an agreement with us to purchase our detergents. What that means, though, is that that's assuring you that, and assuring us that across the United States, Canada, all countries across the world that have our technology, that we can essentially guarantee a result. Now, the detergent side, let's bust that right away, because that's such a perception that people always drive. The average cost per wash of 100 pounds is between $11 and $13. So when you're doing 100 pounds at, call it $13, on the overall cost of the job, it's less than 2.5%. So when people have that mindset, sure, the average order may be $900. Okay, well, that's still going to take you 45 to 65 washes. So bottom line is the cost of detergent is less than 2 to 3% of the overall cost of the claim. Now, where I'm going with this is that our company is set up that our annuity is based upon reoccurring detergent purchases from all of our operators. Well, if you as an operator do not have success and you're not marketing it, or it's sitting there stagnant and the machine's not running, what does that do to us? You're not buying detergent because you're not operating. So we have such an invested interest in the success of our operators, because we want them to continue to buy detergents, but we want them to be successful. And in order for them to be successful, we need to put the energy and the time and the continued time and education into helping our operators. So I really want to bust that myth on the cost of detergents, but we as a company operate in the sense that the continuing success of our operator is our success. Sounds cliche. Bottom line, that is the reality of our company.
Well, what this is all boiling down to is we see that, on this slide right here, textile companies are the way to go. They're just the big fuzzy man in a suit. Bigfoot really doesn't exist. But what I think that you're showing by going above and beyond the initial purchase, the support, the auditing of things, doing things with integrity, showing how to be profitable but still do it the right way, handling the situation, the detergent, having detergent across the board like that ensures consistency. So you can't guarantee anything if they're going to use something that's not proprietary towards the system. It's like you trying to plug in a USB-C charger to an Apple phone. It's not going to work. You have to use a proprietary charger. You have to use cases that fit the proprietary piece of equipment that you're using. That's all not so for people to say, well, no, I'd rather use Tide. Well, you're not going to get the results that you're going to get with the chemistry behind it. So not only is it a product, but it's a science behind the product to be able to get the results that you need. So fantastic input. So let's get down to the monster under the bed, and let's get rid of it. And I cannot, hold on, I have to move my deal because I cannot see. There we go. I had a pole in my way and I couldn't see what I needed to see. So the monster under the bed is basically what textile restoration companies, not going to name names, they know who they are, but these are what they don't want you to know. What kind of profit margins can you make in having a Esporta? And you just addressed that on the previous slide. You said your guess is it's going to be north of 70%, which starts getting into higher margins than even you're doing on water mitigation. or post-construction clean jobs. How you guys can provide the support matrix to not only install a system and provide the necessary training to operate it, but to go out and sell it and make money doing soft contents and adding potential $500,000 plus to your existing bottom line every single year. The fact that Esporta really can do it all, with the exception of that 2 to 4% that really is traditional, real dry cleaning stuff, Esporta can handle everything that the textile restoration companies are currently doing. They are preaching to people that it's going to take up way too much space in your existing warehouse. There's no way that you're going to be able to do it. And then the last thing is that because you're getting increased workload and profitability, using the staff that you currently have in place. And if in the event that you do have to go out and go hire, it is because you are doing more volume and creating more revenue opportunity for your existing franchise or your existing restoration company. So that's the things that textile restoration companies don't want you to know. Now, you guys are the experts. How do you articulate these points in a way that I can't?
Yeah, I think, and Russ dovetail into this, but I think bottom line is the fact of the matter is that they're scared. They're fearful of restoration contractors doing this in-house themselves. And so their immediate reaction is that you can't do it. They're not the expert. And so when they start to install that fear, it's creating a resistance from restoration company owners. Well, geez, maybe we can't do this. And so that's where, again, the previous discussions that we've had should hopefully help alleviate some of those concerns. But bottom line is that the industry is going to a direction of full service contents restoration. Whether you're a specialty restoration dry cleaner, whether you're a specialty electronics cleaning company, it doesn't matter anymore. I mean, the bottom line is that's where companies are going to be going. And I'll make that bold statement. They don't want you to know that the profitability is that high. They don't want you to know that you actually can do it. You don't need 15 degrees and learning how to do textile and fabric restoration. They don't want you to know that the profitability is high, that instead of them giving you a 10% margin, that you can get a 70% profit on a job. And so bottom line is that they're installing this fear to keep you out of the space, because they're gonna lose business. I mean, bottom line, we saw that happen when one of the giant restoration dry cleaning firms added a second line into electronics cleaning. Well, what do you think happened to the electronics cleaning partners that they had? The work's gone. So that's the fear. That's what they don't want you to know. But bottom line is that you can do this. We can empower you as a restoration company to be able to do it, to sell it. Your marketing team, selling differentiation now in a marketplace that's so polluted. Whether you are an independent or a franchise organization, everyone is selling the same thing to the same people. You have to have that silver bullet. You have to have that differentiator. And we truly believe, based on experience and based on what our operators are doing today, that that's what the Esporta will do in the soft contents division of your company. It keeps you full service, and it also wraps around the fact of using technology as a differentiator. All in the meanwhile, you're increasing your workload and profitability with the current staff that you have. So, bottom line, even just addressing all those points, you can do it all. And again, with us coaching, with us mentoring you in any sort of sports organization, you can see obviously from my office, I love sports, football, hockey. Bottom line is you have to have the right coach to accelerate you in a business that you may be fearful in getting into. How do you switch from wide receiver to running back? There's coaches out there that have done a fantastic job. And so that's where we want to take you and move you into a division that you may not be familiar with. We're the experts in, and we want to create an expert within your organization and with you with the company. So Russ, do you have anything you want to add on that?
Sure, and I'm going to be a little bit nicer to the restoration companies. I think that McDonald's does not like Chick-fil-A at all, and you can.
Russ is going to be running for president, by the way, because
I'm going to be
Switzerland. He's playing the PC card.
Be Switzerland here. The thing of it is of course, a business, if we look at it from a business standpoint, not a personal standpoint, they want to protect their market share. Everybody wants to do that, right? And I will tell you that, having been on the other side of the fence in the locker room, we did not have the profit margin that a restoration company has with soft contents, because all of our fixed expenses were for processing soft contents. When a restoration company who currently has a foundation of business and fixed expenses for that business adds a service, then naturally that service is going to be more profitable. And like Jamie said, we all recognize the direction the industry is going. And so when a soft content company adds electronics or hard contents, well, their profit margin on those items is higher as well, because they already have the basic expenses for the soft content. So it is simply a trend in the industry that we all recognize that, yes, a company that has a 5,000 square foot warehouse and they're doing 600,000 a year or 750,000 a year in hard contents can free up 4 or 5 or 600 square feet or add that much, and then almost add 50 to 70% volume to the volume they already have. So if I only have to add 10% of square footage to add 50 to 60 to 70% of volume, of course it's going to be very profitable. And so it's fine, it's understandable when we only look at their point of view. And of course, keep in mind, all of us from a company standpoint claim that we're not making any money. And for years, I was a nonprofit. So you don't want, when you're protecting your market share, to give out information that's going to encourage someone to get into your space. So perfectly understandable, but the dynamic that we are seeing, regardless of which industry you are, whether you're doing just electronics or soft contents or hard contents, when you add these extra services, you are either having a incredibly high profit margin on what you've added to your company, or just even it out, and now we're more profitable in every aspect, whether it's soft contents, hard contents, water mitigation, you name it. The rising tide lifts all boats. So we're bringing in that revenue. Of course, we're going to be very profitable.
Well, and I think ultimately, to speak to both of you guys' incredible points that you made is, and I hate to use this term common sense, because if it were common, everyone would have it. But it is one of the situations that if you hit the nail on the head, they're not having the profit margins that a restoration company are going to have, because they have more overhead, because that's their specialty. That's what they do. They have a bigger investment, much the same on mitigation. Why a large big box franchise company is not as cheap as a guy operating out of his garage with one van and a few air movers. But that being said, if you think they're not making money, then why in the world are they treating you to these big golf outings, showing up and taking you out for lunches and dinners? And how do you think they're paying for those things? They're paying for those things because they are making good margins themselves, and you can make better margins by doing it yourself. So you're cutting out that middleman, greater customer experience, which is a good segue. So the monster under the bed is dead. And now we're going to talk about something that if these things were alive, I would own one. And that's let your business be the fire-breathing dragon that it was meant to be. I kind of want to lead this and let you guys jump in with your expertise. But as a business development specialist in commercial marketing, to me, this is a gold mine. If the owner brings this in and says, hey, Eddie, I have an additional touch point for your clients to go talk about, to generate immediate gratification revenue, to increase the client services that we provide to them, you're going to be able to take greater control over that and give the customer a better experience and be able to deepen your relationships. To me, now I'm going to my hoteliers and saying, hey, stop using your linen services. Let me take care of that for you. Now I'm going to the owner and saying, hey, how about we take care of cleaning all of our uniforms and temp shirts and all of those kinds of things now, and the gear that needs to be cleaned, because now we can control the consistency over it, rather than coming back and going, hey, they messed up this load and now we got to send it back so that we can get the correct stuff. I think from an additional commissionable revenue source, I would have been salivating and probably needed a bib if our owner would have had this in there, because I would have seen the potential to go garner more market share that I currently did not have. So now you guys are the experts on this. I'm sold as a business development guy. I'm having this conversation with the owner. what's my reinforcement from Esporta to be able to hit the home run with this deal?
Yeah, I think greater control. I mean, I think that is, I mean, profitability aside, everyone loves profit. Everyone loves, the ability to add a new tool or a new toy to their business. But I think greater control of the work that you're already doing, but of that customer. One of my good friends, Tony Roberts, he's a serve pro in Kentucky, very interesting. I asked him, what was the biggest reason for you adding the Esporta service line to your business? And he said, we work so hard to obtain the customer. And when we have to subcontract out a portion of that, we immediately lose control of that customer and of that customer experience. And a lot of the times they were getting things that came back that still smelled like smoke or that was still wet. Who are they going to call? They're not going to reach out to the restoration dry cleaner. They're going to call you. So as a PM or somebody that's working on the job, the biggest, implication is the homeowner calls you up, they're mad because of the results. Well, if you don't have any control of it, what do? It's still you. It's your company. It's your brand. It's your reputation. And so by having total control of the claim, in my opinion, is that fire-breathing dragon. It is the sales opportunity to go out and differentiate. It gives your team a new tool instead of just going into an adjuster's office and drop off some cookies. You have something different to talk about. Not only do you have that opportunity, but now you have the opportunity, as we talked about earlier on this call, where we were founded in 1999 and up to 2004, 2005, was schools. Go into schools, meet with the equipment athletic department, use it as a marketing contra opportunity to clean their football gear, especially with COVID right now. If you could go in, meet with the athletic department, go in and say, you know what, we'll come in 4 times in a season and we'll clean your football gear at no cost, but we would like for you to put our logo in the stadium, or we would like for you to hand out brochures on a Friday night game, whatever that may be. And those are the tactics that we teach. Prime example of that here in Kelowna, BC, our Winmar Property Restoration Group, right on the arena of the WHL hockey team, 6,000 people capacity, called the Kelowna Rockets. Hopefully that comes back. But on the logo, on the ice, is the logo Winmar Property Restoration, because they clean the Rockets gear 3-4 times a year. So you got to look at these advantages of using technology to be your sales and marketing tool. Not only that, but you can go to fire halls and work with fire chiefs, fire bunker gear. Our technology, again, as I say, was founded in a division of fire bunker gear cleaning. Go in and educate the chiefs, the cancerous effects. How can you help them? And so again, you're building these deeper relationships with first responders, schools, and all in the meanwhile, you've got the low-hanging fruit that if you're doing 2 to 5 jobs a month, you've got the revenue right there and you have total control of the claim.
I think you have hit the nail on the head with the new world of sales, is that if you go into, say, for example, an adjuster's or an agent's office and look around at the spoils of war and see that they have been gifted to death, but nobody's providing any real value, any real education. Nobody is starting with the why. And if you could, that is your biggest differentiator, to go in there and to be that education, have that force through the trees, servant's heart mentality whenever you're doing restoration sales, about saying, hey, we understand that you deal with potential staph infection at your schools. Because we have this technology, we're willing to provide the safety for your athletes at absolutely no charge to you if you'll do this in return for us. And the forest through the trees mentality is that branding makes you presence of mind, and you're going to be the person that they're going to call whenever they need services, because you have been a servant to them. So I think you have hit the nail on the head. That's why we are so honored and consider it such a privilege to partner with you guys, because you have that same out-educate, out-care mentality with the clients that you deal with. And that's what you preach, but you don't just preach it, you live it. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. Russ, do you have anything to add before we get to the question slide and in the presentation?
Well, real quick, we also have to recognize that the industry is changing from a marketing standpoint as well. There are things that we could do that we can't do anymore. And there are offices we could go by that have been closed. Adjusters are working from their home or from a car. And so we're limited in those touch points, and this adds another touch point. And like you've said, one that gives value and results. And it's almost like, the relationship is very important as well. But if we have a restaurant and we have a great relationship with our customers, but the food's not good, how well does that relationship serve us? If the food's really good and we've got this great relationship, and now we say to our customers, hey, guess what? We've added a dessert menu. How much more likely are they to order from that dessert menu because of the relationship, because we've established a certain level of quality and customer service? And so this just goes right along with that. It's an addition to your marketing that is not a difficult or hard sell. It just goes right along with everything we've done or established that we do with these relationships in the past.
Exactly. And, the additional touch points, that's the one thing about it, I'm consulting now and talking with the reps, they look for things, they run out of things that they want to talk to people about. And I've been able to open their eyes through, doing residual trainings, and what a fantastic resource to bring a system like this in and to go back around to all your existing clients and say, oh, by the way, let me educate you on this part of the process that we do now. For that touch point, and for prospective clients to be able to say, not only are we masters of fire, water, mold, biotrauma, hazmat, but we are also masters of being able to take care of soft contents and potentially hard contents and provide you with a full, well-rounded one-stop experience.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's key, is the full rounded one-stop experience, right? It's stop subcontracting. I mean, it's the way the industry is going. But again, we get the fear. I mean, that's what you can tell my passion and my direct and forwardness on, being in this business for so long and having these sorts of conversations. This isn't a fit for everyone. I mean, this isn't a fit for someone who just wants to be fairly complacent in their business. This is a fit for someone who wants to grow, who wants to change the way that they're doing things. And I get it. Maybe you're a $3, $4, $5 million operator and you're happy. You're happy with the amount of money, and you're picking up the phone, you're calling in, and you're okay with that one day that 10 and 10 you may be able to add now, and that 10% referral fee you may be getting is going to be gone. If you're happy losing 30% and you just want to focus on doing some of the pack out portion of it, or you want to just do water mitigation, that's totally fine. This isn't a fit for you. We look forward to operators who are very motivated to grow their business. And in times like this, to Russ's point, you have to change the way that you're marketing. You have to change the way we as a company ourselves, we're looking at ways of how do we reinvent. I can't go to trade shows. I mean, just simply because of the border being closed. So how do you get in front of the prospective buyers to create visibility? And when you have opportunities like a differentiation, and also leveraging the work that you're already doing. And I think that that's what my final point is there. It's just leverage the work and the relationships that you already have. They're going to give you the opportunity to prove it to you. A lot of guys too, I think, on the question side of it, as we go into this, guys, and I just want to address this as well, is that one of the topics that is brought up with me is, hey, you know what, let me go market this and see if I can get response before I make the investment. That does not work. That absolutely does not work. And the reason behind it is the fact that if you are talking in concept and you can't prove what you can do, there's no point in even doing it. Your adjusters are going to be happy with status quo, doing what they're doing. No, we're happy just sending it here. But if you go in and you say, Mr. Adjuster, give me the last job of the non-salvage items that were left behind by a restoration dry cleaning company. Let us take those items and let us clean, and we'll show you. Right then and there, you're able to prove it. And that is one of the most effective sales strategies that we have and our operators do every day. And it's just bottom line. So I love to talk. I love to share my feedback. I'm happy. Anyone who's on the call, I'm happy to do a one-on-one conversation virtually. I love to meet people. I love relationships. I love partnerships, and happy to help in any way I can.
Yeah, I think that, I haven't seen any questions come up. I think, the basis of how we formatted this and just that coffee talk around the table, hopefully will have sufficed. But if you do guys have any questions at all, would like to request a one-on-one, because not only will this be live, but we're going to be making this available out as a marketing tool as well. Just because I think that this, out of all the webinars we've done, I think has been the most informative, and B, really seriously addresses the myths and squelches them, and comes back to the same thing that I say at the end of every single one of these, is that you want to grow, you have numbers to hit, you can't afford to not have an Esporta system in your facility. There, it is just absolutely ludicrous and ridiculous for you to buy into the rhetoric that it's not going to work or make you money. We have proven time and time again, and I believe in solutions, not excuses. So stop making excuses as restoration owners. If you're not hitting your numbers, not willing to pull the trigger on something like this, I don't have any empathy for you. You've got too many resources sitting right here to be able to go out and add revenue base to your bottom line almost immediately. So, guys, thank you so much. Sean, do you have anything you want to add before we jump off? I know Sean's got the TL logo up there. I don't know if he's still on here. There you go.
Yeah, I do. You guys are so much better looking than me. I didn't want to, you know.
I thought that was you in the Bigfoot slide, Sean.
Well, awesome. Well, Allie, and then somebody else requested a one-on-one too. So we really appreciate you guys jumping in on this. And we will definitely follow up with you guys as well. I'll make sure Jamie has all your information so he can follow up with you. So other than that, no, we are going to be doing some more in-depth areas of actually how to take the Esporta and grow your business over the next few months. So we've been putting a lot of focus on the myths, but now we're going to actually get into the meat and gravy of how to do this, how to do that. And that's where Russ is going to take those years of experience and really be able to provide some good foundation moving forward. So we're super excited. Be on the lookout. We will be announcing probably in the next week all the upcoming webinars for the next few months as well. And then if you have any questions or any replays on old webinars, feel free to reach out to us at any time.
So, guys, again, I always feel like I come away better than I came in. So I appreciate your expertise, and I appreciate the fact that you guys really take time out to not only educate me and Sean, but to educate the restoration community on how to be better at what we do. So thank you guys so much for your time. We appreciate you joining us on this webinar. We will have the replay and the slide deck available, and we'll get that out shortly. And we hope you guys have a fantastic week, and let's go change the world one client at a time.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. Thanks, guys.